welcome to Turn the Page, the official podcast of the Syosset Public Library.
This is Jessica with Syosset Library's Turn the Page podcast, and I am welcoming a fellow Comic-Con nerd, I'm assuming because this book describes fandom and cosplay in such familiarity that I cannot possibly believe that it doesn't come from a very close place.
Hi, everyone. My name is Seressia Glass, and I am the author of The Love Con. And yes, I am a fan of cosplay. So it's a cosplay rom-com. It's centered around a reality show cosplay competition. And yes, it kind of feels my love of all things geekery and nerdy. So yes, while Comic-Con, I have not attended that. It is on my bucket list, but since I'm here in Atlanta, Dragon Con is my first love. So I go to that as often as I can.
So first of all, introduce your other guest that's here for the podcast.
So I don't know if you noticed in the background, but I have three guests with me. One is Hannah. She is a standard poodle, about 7 years old. Then I have Toby, who is also a standard poodle, and he's about 14. And then our youngest, most rambunctious one is a Cane Corso named Freddie, and he's about a year and some change right now. So yes, so anytime there's anything that sounds like a knock or my husband speaking for some strange reason, they just go nuts and start barking. So
I understand, and it's funny because you're certainly not, especially in these days, you're not the first to have an animal visitor. I think like sometime, was it last year? We had Elisa Cole, and she has a rooster or roosters. She lives in Martinique, and every time she was making a point about her book, the rooster would crow, which was really cool. So maybe your dogs will weigh in a little bit. So okay, so I saw this book as a fan of Comic-Con and cosplay myself, and I was like, we absolutely must read this book. And we can get to the plot of it in a second. I have to say, and this will probably come up a few more times, what I'm just kind of loving how mainstream just this whole world has become. First of all, I have several friends who went down to Dragon Con for several years. New York Comic-Con, I think, I can't remember when it got really big in New York, but I used to go to small ones, and I've run a con at my library as well, Syosset Library. But I do remember a time when it was just not something you talked about with people. It was just sort of like a thing that you did, and it was best kept quiet. I always talk about the old days, of anime, where there was none to be had unless you were willing to get to the back of a very questionable comic book store and rifle through VHS tapes and hope that what you were picking up would be decent for your 11-year-old eyes.
Right.
But this book was just, it's already out there. Your main character, Kenya, she is competing in a cosplay reality show called Cosplay or No Way, and she is one of the finalists. And she sort of drops on in the final episode before they go to the finals that her best friend Cam, who's also a big cosplayer, is her boyfriend, even though that's not true. And then she goes back and she has to convince not only the world but her friends that she and Cam are fake dating. So where did this story come from?
It actually did come out of a love of cosplay. So I am not one of those people who are good with the needle, much less glue and all of that stuff. I can sew on a button, but it's usually crooked and it doesn't line up with the hole. So I'm one of those people who love to outsource, and I'm in awe of anybody who can make their own costumes. So I wanted to write a character who did that, this kind of fulfills my whole geekery nerddom self. And who loves to do cosplay and who's actually good at making costumes. So and then I just kind of figured that wouldn't it be neat if there was kind of a reality show competition about people? Because, it's kind of, you have Project Runway and all of that kind of stuff. So I figured it would be really neat if I could have a competition that's kind of inspired by that kind of competition show, and just have it centered around people trying to make costumes under a deadline and be creative and fight their way to the finals. So, and then, after I got that idea, it's like, well, how do I up the stakes? And it pretty much just kind of fell into place like dominoes about having it be a return to your hometown. And now you've got to do two costumes in the time frame, and it's got to be your significant other, because why not? So that's kind of how it just kind of fell into place.
So, I mean, when you're meeting Kenya for the first time, the idea of basically gatekeeping in fandom comes up right away. Kenya is Black, she's fat, and she's wearing Sailor Moon outfits. She's wearing she's cosplaying as whatever she wants. And there's definitely a factor of gatekeeping as to who should wear what you know, are you, what you should be allowed to do, both for the gaze of the people who are watching you, and also, I mean, I guess under racial terms as well. And it's crazy because so much creativity goes into cosplay, and so much of the fandom, like a lot of people never got to see themselves in it, and this is sort of a way to become what you always wanted to see yourself in. So do you want to just talk a little bit about that aspect of it?
Sure. Yeah, I know that I've gotten some, and I'm sure that there are plenty of Black cosplayers out there who could recount the stories of saying, and even plus size cosplayers who would be like, you're not doing that character right, or that character is not that color, or you shouldn't be playing that character. And it's like, it's a fictional character in a fictional world, and actually an alien, but okay. So it's like, it's based on, set in Japan. So really all of them should be Japanese if you're going to be, that kind of a gatekeeper for it, or, saying that you're the wrong size to wear it because, this superhero is, has the hourglass figure or something like that. So that's why it's like, I wanted to have someone who didn't really care about that, or, had a tough enough exterior where that just kind of bounces off of her. Because she's been cosplaying for so long that she's kind of now above those kind of criticisms, except for, the judge in the competition.
And I'm rolling my eyes because I'm thinking about her right now, but this is not a video podcast, so you can't see me rolling my eyes, but I'm rolling my eyes about the judge.
Right. So yeah, she was something. I was, kind of basing her on the bad judges that we've seen, the bad as in the evil judges, that we've seen on some of these shows. And she made me mad. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I wrote her well, because she made me mad at some of the stuff that she's just said. But some of the things that she was saying is stuff that Black cosplayers have had to deal with as they create their costumes and their love and playing the characters that they love. So it is wonderful to be able to see other cosplayers, chucking whatever the naysayers and the gatekeepers say is correct. And also it's cool to find more characters that look like them that they can actually play. So all of that just kind of, it's just great that it's becoming more mainstream, because now different people playing different characters, no matter what their shape or size or color or anything like that. I think it's been great. So, kind of have to hand it to, all of the Marvel Universe movies that have, made these characters so mainstream. And then people, want to play them for Halloween, and then they discover that there's like this whole place where you can go all year round
No,
that you can be in costume for,
I
different,
know it's really great as somebody who always loved dressing up for Halloween, just being like, I can wear this costume and other things. And by the way, I have to sort of say, I use the term fat for Kenya because she uses it herself.
yes.
Yes. So I wanted to sort of make that very clear in
Oh,
the
yeah.
first pages.
Yeah, yeah, no negative comments. Kenya is a fat chick, and she acknowledges that she
Kenya,
is a fat chick.
and she's awesome. And so she has this friend, Cam, and they have been friends since high school, and they bonded. And Kenya's family sort of took Cam under their wing. Now, Cam is white guy,
Mhm.
is several times compared to looking like Thor, which is, I mean, Chris Hemsworth is not a bad person to look like. And by the way, if you have not watched it yet, and this is for our viewers who like Chris Hemsworth, if you Google Chris Hemsworth cuddling with kittens, a video comes up of him cuddling with kittens and talking about meeting like his surfing mentor. So throwing that out there for people who like kittens and Chris Hemsworth. But getting back to the book, so Cam is, like people keep talking about how he and Kenya are so opposite, and he's not only a good friend, but it turns out that this fake dating thing is maybe a little bit real for him. When he hears it, he's very into it immediately.
Yes, he's definitely on board for it because, to him, this just kind of moves his secret plan to win Kenya forward quite a bit. So he's happy for the opportunity to cosplay her as her boyfriend, so to speak, because, he wants to do everything he can to kind of convince her that, it's time for their friendship to progress to something more. So
To 2.2.0.
right, exactly.
Yes.
So so yeah, I really had a lot of fun writing him, and kind of their origin story as friends was just, is just a joy to write them, and how they interact with each other, and how they're there for each other, even if they think that they're not. So because sometimes Kenya just thinks that she hasn't done nearly enough for Cam that Cam has done for her. But they met in high school after him and his father moved after he lost his mother. So he was kind of by himself as he was new to the school. And she kind of saw him sitting there and reading a comic. So she came over with her comics and her lunchbox and split her lunch with them and started talking about comics. And that's kind of how they bonded. And they're in the same neighborhood. So it just kind of, come over and see my comics collection, and then come over and, I'm cosplaying, come over and play video games. And it just kind of basically organically, he got adopted into her family, so to speak. So yeah, her parents adore him. She adores him. They've just been together thick as thieves since high school. So, and I hope that kind of comes through in the story.
It really does. They just have like a comfort. And I liked both of their internal thoughts as things progressed. And I just had such a fun time reading this book. And this is not your debut book though, right?
It is not. It's my debut rom-com, I would say, and definitely a debut in full geek mode, so to speak. So no, I've been a writer for 20 years. Oh, that sounds awful to say, but yeah, my
Listen,
first book
I've
came
been a
out in
librarian
2000.
for almost 20 years, so it sounds wonderful to me.
Yeah, so this is, I would say that this is, as hard as it was writing this book in 2020, because 2020 was that kind of a year. It still was a lot of fun writing this book and writing these characters, because I just love how they interact with each other. Like you said, there's just this comfort between them, and how they're friends with each other kind of shines through. And then as their feelings grow, that whole relationship, I don't know if you can call it a slow burn or not, because Cam's been interested in her for a while, but kind of just seeing how they progress from friends to lovers. I just really had so much fun writing that and seeing how their relationship unfolds and develops. So it was fun.
So there's a lot of talk about making cosplay and just the whole process, and from idea to the making part. Did you do a lot of research? Do you have a lot of friends who make it? I myself, the closest I've gotten was to take fabric glue and to sort of just like haphazardly glue something on and hope it works. But yeah, I am not a good cosplay maker by any means.
Not at all. And same here. So I did have some friends that I reached out to about the whole making of costumes. My friend Lily is one, and Jeanette Cosdale, she's a sewer, so she makes all of these awesome costumes, just going and buying fabric and making them into magic, and it's just amazing. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how to create armor out of the not felt, I just foam. So and just kind of going down the rabbit hole, just kind of researching all of this and trying and realizing that it is amazing. So when you read this book, do not expect that you can build an Iron Man costume in 4 weeks. Just it does not. It takes far longer than that. So do not, if you find a cosplayer who will do commissions, do not expect that they can turn something around in 4 weeks, because it just does not happen like that. So while the timeline is constricted for the story, in reality, building those kind of things, especially the more complex they are, takes a long time. Some people I know have worked on it. As soon as one con ends, they're ready to start. They go home and start their costume for the next con, the next year's con. So yes, so people who aren't familiar with the process, just know that it is actually a very laborious thing, but the end product is just beautiful. But also that, as if you want to cosplay, you don't have to be that detailed. You can do your own take
Yeah.
on the character that you want to do. And I think that that's one thing that has become more mainstream, because people have different investment levels in the character that they want to play, or designing a character that they can play. So what has been nice is that those gatekeepers and naysayers are becoming fewer and far between, and I think that that's great. And there's just people who just like your effort for you putting an effort into creating a costume. So I just really like that. I think that that is one of the best things that's come about as we go down this road with conventions and stuff.
Agreed. So one question really quickly, is this the last book that you will be writing within this world, or do you think that you might sort of play with not with these characters even as side characters in the future?
Yeah, so they do have a group of friends. Kenya and Cam hang out with these people at Game and Flame, this little kind of game playing bar kind of thing. So they have friends who are gamers. So the next book that I'm working on does feature a female gamer who calls out a gaming company for their depiction of women and Black characters. So that starts a whole nother thing in which she steps into the fire, and of course it still has to be a rom-com. So there are funny moments in that, when the owner of the company decides to kind of do some research on her. They meet at this game con, but he doesn't tell her who he is. He's incognito, and so they start talking, and they realize that they're actually syncing up and have some good synergy. And then at the next panel he reveals who he is, and mayhem and foolishness ensues from there, and then he offers her a job. So,
well, okay, when can we expect this one? Because that sounds great too.
So I'm working on it now. I turn it in February, so I don't know if it'll be the end of next year or 2023. Wait, yes, it
I
feels
don't know.
weird
Who
to
knows
say
what really, does
2023,
anybody really know what year it is anymore?
right? So it feels like it's been 2021 for 8 years, but then also it's gone by really fast because it's like 30 days till Christmas, and
Yeah, right.
that's just I'm frightened. But yeah, so I turn it in February. So hopefully it'll either be out the end of next year or the beginning of 2023. Yes, I'd even like to do one that's actually, kind of set in a con. I think that would be great because, there's so many different ones. Of course, we have Dragon Con here. Then there's a steampunk one. I know that there's an anime week in Atlanta, and then there are whole bunches of different kinds of cons that are around. So I definitely think it would be pretty cool to set one in a con. I just kind of have to figure out what the characters would be doing and how could you write a rom-com that happens over a weekend at a convention. So but that would be kind of fun, I think.
I agree. So before we go, favorite characters that you would like to cosplay, or just like favorite characters in general?
I wanted to play Sister Knight from the HBO Watchmen. That would be cool. Let's see. I always wanted to do Storm because she's just kick butt,
Yeah, she is.
Even playing, I'm not brave enough, but I wouldn't mind playing Raven from, I think that she would be a great character to play. If I had the funds, I would love to be like one of the Gundam Knights, but I don't have that money or the creativity that it would take to build something like that.
I would, oh my gosh, I would like a real Gundam. That would be fun.
Right? Because I know that there was they built a transformer in Japan or something. I saw
that.
Like
Yeah.
giant.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've seen people who have been transformers and they actually transformed from the robot into the car and zipped around on the street. And I was like, that was amazing. And like I said, I am in awe of people who can do that. But yes, I definitely have characters I like to play, but then I also just like to dress up. So I don't know if you can call it a cosplay, but I did Isis, the goddess Isis with the wings and the headpiece and all of that, and the dress and all of the gold and stuff. So that was fun doing that. And I still have that stuff around here somewhere.
Oh, that's pretty great. Actually, yeah. One of my cats was named after Isis, and she passed after 22 years. But yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I like the whole idea of mythology cosplay as well. And then of course, like they had, like she was also a superhero at one point. I think like there was a 70s superhero, Isis.
I am unfortunately old enough to remember that, and I watched that religiously. The Isis Shazam Isis hour or something. I can't remember what it was. So you had Shazam and you had Isis as superheroes. So that was a lot of fun, of course. And probably that's where it started for me. And going to the Ren fairs and buying my first corset, being a tavern wench for the first time, just kind of snowballed from there, basically.
Yeah, I was always into I liked the I was always into X-Men, especially like the 90s show. I really liked that. And then when sometimes when I'd wake up really, really early with insomnia, I'd catch anime on sci-fi. And there was this one show called Iria, which was Iria Zerum, the animation, I think. Yeah. And I think like what stuck out about that for me, because I have this whole thing where like people were like, oh, Akira. And I'm like, yeah, Akira's okay. I mean, and I'm probably going to get flamed for saying that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good. But, for me, I was like, but then there was this other anime where like there wasn't a girl screaming for 30 minutes straight and getting devoured by a giant monster. And I don't know, like that kind of put me off Akira just a bit, because like I just didn't, talking about like in general, like having like a good female character in anime. Like you had Kyoko, who was one of the children, and she was a good character, but like I went into it wanting Iria, and I was like, No, but for those who don't listen, she was a bounty hunter, and she's trying to avenge her brother's death, who was also a bounty hunter. And I think this monster killed him. And she takes on this protege who's this child, and that's all I'm going to say, named Kay, who kind of idolizes Iria. And man, she was kick butt. So for me, I have to say, like, really, that's where it started for me. And then I found Sailor Moon, and I was like, all the geek stuff.
Right. No, I am totally with you on that. I really don't like animes where the females characters only plot is to faint or die or just be totally helpless and has to be rescued, every 5 minutes. So,
oh, totally. Yeah. But one of the things I really liked about Iria in particular was, and I don't know if this is the dub. It's been a very long time since I've seen it. And I did watch the sub. I'm trying to remember, but like after a fight, she's like, oh man, she was like, I really have to take a shower, just like indicating that she smells really bad after a fight. And I was like, I really appreciate that was brought up as a topic,
Right.
Like, yeah, like not only is she kick butt, but she acknowledges that women have, like odor.
Absolutely.
Well, this was super fun. And again, this book is just so charming.
Yeah.
So are there chances? I mean, I know COVID is making this difficult, of you possibly going on tour to cons to talk about it?
Not on tour, but I do plan to do some appearances next year, some conventions. I'm doing one called Coastal Magic, which is a book-centered one, but and that's in Daytona in February, towards the middle to end of February. And then there'll be some other ones that I'll be doing. And of course, if I can get to Comic-Con, I would really love to, but of course I'll be at Dragon Con, and let me try the New York Comic-Con one. I think I heard that one's a lot of fun too. So I'd like to do that.
It is a lot of fun. It's been I have not gone obviously since 2019. I didn't go this year, but maybe we will meet each other.
Yeah, that would be cool. I love that.
All right. So once again, this was Jessica with Syosset Libraries podcast. And we are going to turn this chapter. I can't talk. We are going to close this chapter of Turn the Page. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
It's time to close this chapter of Turn the Page. Join us for the next episode.